Good morning, everybody. I am Caroline McBreen. I am the COO at Rpharmy. I'd like to thank you for joining us for this week's Formweb in 15 Minutes webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about REMS, which is everyone's favorite topic. So before we get started, I wanted to share the schedule for our upcoming webinars, as well as where you can access previously recorded webinars. To view the recordings, and if you'd like to register for any upcoming sessions, well, we have a QR code right here that you can scan. Next week, we are going to be talking about top common side effects. So now I will hand it off to our CEO, Laura Paxton, and our Customer Success Director, Shirley Kristen. So ladies, please take it away for REMS.
Thank you, Caroline. And thank you all for joining us today. And we're going to make a quick study of REMS and how our clients use Formweb to communicate their REMS program in their organizations and health systems. So starting out, what we're going to look at, just do a quick overview of Formweb if everyone is not familiar with the product, the formulary medication safety product. The right side of the screen is all about your formulary. Notice you have formulary addition request forms. We'll take your own paper forms and we'll make them electronic. You have 3 places where you can put electronic forms where people can fill them out and communicate with your pharmacy resource center. You can search for a drug by name, by therapeutic class, alphabetically, or you can actually have subcategories of your drugs. And the one that we're going to focus on today is REMS. And let's just go ahead and I'll click on the REMS link. So know this, when we build your form website, what we're going to do is we're going to take your NDC numbers, we're going to create your formulary database, and one of the items that we are going to populate for you is we're going to look at the list of drugs in your formulary, and we're going to populate all the drugs in your formulary that have a REMS on them. And so this is what it would look like. And keep in mind, this is a demo site, so it's not the extensive list. So here is the list of REMS drugs that are on our demo site. This is what your site would look like. Notice you've got the generic names of the drugs, and then you have a little short click out to the information that's on that drug page. And we're going to focus first on alvimipan. And notice that you've got the brands, forms, strengths of this drug. This is using the column form, and you see that this drug is a restricted drug and it has a REMS. The client needed to add some additional information about their REMS information. So let's just click on this and see Rpharmy Memorial REMS requirements. What do we require for you to use this drug? And this is a great example of something one of our clients has done to communicate all of their REMS protocols on one page. They link to it in their forum website, which means they're also linking to it from their EHR. So whoever is reading this information has one-click access to the information they need to know about this particular REMS drugs, like the medication, what sites are enrolled, is there portal access, who has to have the certifications. This is just one example of how one of our clients is communicating this information. And then you also, this is the same link to that information. And then you see that this drug also has a restriction. Notice that with Formweb, we don't care who you use for your drug information provider. We work with everybody. And we also will link to all of these publicly sourced sources of drug information for you, if you would like. So that was the first drug we're going to look at. Now let's go look at this drug and just see. This is our next call that we're going to have. Our next webinar we're going to have is common side effects, but notice there are common side effects on this. Notice for this particular drug, there is only the REMS listing check on this particular form and strength. That's a very valuable thing. And also notice this drug has a boxed warning. And when we click on that information, we're going to take you out to the Rpharmy Black Box RX boxed warning information that sits out there. And you'll have a very comprehensive guide of everything for that boxed warning. And then we're going to link to the REMS list. And on this, you see that there are several drugs under this generic name that have some sort of REMS protocol. And from that, we're going to take you to the FDA site so you can read exactly what the information is on that drug. So you can make sure that you're following the guidelines. All right. Let's go back to the overall REMS list and let's look at a biosimilar. It's very exciting. So there's just so much information on these. So notice with this biosimilar that specific brands and forms and strengths are non-formulary or restricted or have REMS. And you have an ability to put some notes out there. Also notice that you can have multiple links to share information. So let's just click on this FDA REMS list so you can see all the drugs that are part of that generic, where you can go out to the FDA and you can get additional information for that REMS. The other thing that we're going to look at on this one, I think, is we want to make sure that if you have any specific REMS information on your hospital's intranet or you put it in our file manager, we want to link to that information as well and show your end users exactly the protocols that are going on in your organization. And now we're going to go to the overall comprehensive page for the REMS information. And so once again, here's the REMS list. And then you can see, this is a link to all the clinical practice standards. So if you were looking at the REMS list in your organization, you could link to this page and show everything that your organization has that you need to be aware of for your particular REMS. On this one, you see for this drug, you have the ability to have multiple links available for these drugs. Under any drug monograph, you have up to 4 links available, and you see they're using 3 of those for REMS. And then once again, here's that custom client page. And this is something that our client actually created. It's a very comprehensive piece of information for their REMS. It's very helpful. You can jump down to the actual information on that drug. It's not jumping, but it doesn't matter. Here you go, REMS medications with workflow for the pharmacist. I mean, this has taken so much work. It's taken all of you so much work to get this REMS information going.
Laura, and at the bottom of that page that you just saw, if you scroll to the bottom, it actually shows the breakdown of one of the drugs. So, yeah, right there. So, if in that chart, if this were live, not on the demo site, if you clicked to that drug on the chart, it would go to all of the information listed here, and you can see all of the links of the resources. So, the manufacturer's information as well as the FDA REMS information.
And so that is the summary of Formweb and REMS and how our clients are using that. Now, Charlene and Caroline, y'all both know a lot about REMS. What are some other best practices or benchmarking things that we're seeing our clients do with REMS?
Well, I think as a general rule, what we're seeing is they're either linking to a homegrown document that they are keeping and maintaining the information on that document, and we're also seeing them link to specific guidelines for the REMS on a specific drug. And when I say specific guidelines, I mean guidelines based on their organization and how they handle those REMS. I think it was interesting when I was helping one of our clients, they pointed out that, especially with the opioid REMS, there's so many of, of the REMS are encapsulated in that opioid REMS, but the majority of the time, that is not something that a hospital is going to worry about, is that opioid REMS, because that's usually in the outpatient setting in the outpatient pharmacy setting. Um,
So is what you're saying, okay, so there are 89 drugs on the list, and most of them, that's a question, most of them are actually for the outpatient setting?
yes.
So is that what you see, that if the drugs are not part of the inpatient setting, they're not addressing them through their form website? I guess that's probably a mixed bag, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a mixed bag, but they literally, I mean, there's no sense in calling it out and drawing attention to it if your staff does not have to do anything with it.
Yeah. That
So, and that's really where, this last client that I was working with on their REMS, that's really what they were trying to drive home. Let's only focus on what we need to work, what we need to be involved in.
mm. What
They didn't want
happens
REMS on their form website if they had no responsibility in that REMS.
here's my question on that. Okay, so with hazardous drugs how, you may not have that drug in your formulary, but you need to have handling instructions on your RHAS drug site
Mhm.
because those drugs might come in. Isn't it the same story for REMS? Can't those drugs come in with the patient's own medication?
Yes, but the REMS work for the outpatient setting for those drugs such as the opioids, that's already been done when the prescription was written, when the prescription was filled. In the inpatient setting, it has no bearing.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think about one of our clients that is a huge client, and they use their Formweb in their outpatient and their clinic settings. So I guess in that case of that particular client, they need to have the whole REMS list on their site because in their outpatient setting in their clinics, they're using Formweb as their source of truth
If
also.
they're filling prescriptions,
Yeah.
for opioids, yes.
Okay. That's it's because you see so much discussion out there right now about, freestanding EDs and outpatient and blah, blah, blah. And so I guess it's something we kind of need to ask people as we're building their sites, or is this site going to be used in the outpatient setting as well? Because we need to make sure that we address that.
Right.
Wow. That's interesting. Anything else anyone has to say on REMS?
Yeah, just one note. As part of your Formweb build, one of the things that we do as part of supplying you some of the sublistings, which Laura has pulled up on that left-hand side, we populate your RIMS sublisting. So this is something that we do as part of your Formweb build. Just wanted to note that because this is one of the questions that and for any of you listening, if you've made it this far, please email us at info@rpharmy.com. If you are the REMS person at your facility, we would love to hear your top 5 challenges that you experience with REMS. I know you can probably think of more than 5, but if you don't have enough time to write down 5, we'll take even your top 3 or your number 1 problem because we hear commonly that REMS is a huge, huge issue. And all of your top 5 common, problems that we're hearing, you have a lot in common of the pains that you're expressing. So we would love to hear from you as we continue to find solutions for this problem.
That's great. Thank you,
And
Caroline, and
that's
thank you
that's
all
the
for
beauty
listening.
of that's the beauty of Rpharmy and Formweb and all of the software platforms that we have is we are a community,
Mhm.
and we take the best of everybody and share that information. So,
And when we know how you suffer, it helps us know how to design. So let us
So
know how
keep
you're suffering.
going.
Thank
All
you
right.
all so much for your attention, and we look forward to telling you more about Formweb in the next webinar.
Thank you, everybody. See you in 2 weeks.